Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode of the YarnCreations podcast. I'm Mandala of Pretoria in South Africa, and this is the third try. Let's hope it goes smoother this time. Sorry for sounding so nasal. I had quite an aggressive cold last week and sinus infection that is still not cleared up. And as usual, we've got our little visitor that just loves being in all the pictures. Can't resist the fact that the camera is um, recording. So yes, as I said, I really wanted to try and record last week, but I just realized that with this cold and sinus infection, that is maybe not a very good thing. And the week before that, I also planned to record an episode, and I think my equilibrium was a bit thrown out of balance because there was broken into my house while I was alone at night. So that is not a very comfortable feeling. Fortunately, I'm safe, and there is locked doors between where there was broken in and where I sleep, but it's still something that throws you a little bit, and so there's lots of security stuff that has to happen in at my house. It's an old house, and up to this stage there wasn't much done in that aspect. And I know I don't talk a lot about what happens in my life. I feel that I just have too much to talk about regarding knitting and my yarn related craft love. But just one very ironic tidbit is the fact that the Minister of Police lives next door. And that doesn't seem to deter anyone from the crime, all the crime that happens in the neighborhood where I live. Lots and lots of crime. But that's beside the point. Let's talk about all the happy things. That is what I do. I try to surround myself with happy yarn-related crafts. I'm at that stage of my life where I don't have to, I'm not really responsible for anyone. I still have to clean my house and do the washing and all that not so good chores, but for all the other times, I just love to craft with yarn. I love yarn, and I prefer to work with natural yarns, and I especially love wool. I know it's not always the best option for our climate in South Africa, but we do get some cold spells in winter, and my house is, as I say, old and quite cold with huge trees that keeps the sun away. But in summer, in the long summer months, that's actually a good thing. So the first thing I want to show you is my mold raglan that I finished quite a few things, because July and August for me is all about whip busting. I can cast on and cast on, and then suddenly I just want to finish the whips. So I'm quite happy with how it looks and wears and feels. I've talked about this in previous episodes, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot. It's done in 2 strands of merino linen singles from different dyers. It's top down raglan shaped, and yeah, just a nice, quite a deep raglan for a nice positive feel. And I like my sleeves to be not too tight, because I think when your sleeves are too tight, they tend to pull up quite a lot. So if they are a bit looser fitting, then that doesn't happen so easily. So I do decrease, and then I do a few in the last row before I do the rib. I do say about 8 more decreases to get to the amount of stitches I want for my ribbing. And I do like my sleeves quite long, because I don't like, I feel I'm cold here most of the times. This could actually have been a little bit longer even. So if I stretch my arm out, it must still be long enough. But it's fine for just wearing in the house, for casual wearing. That's actually very comfortable. I just want to see if there's anything else that I did make notes of this while I was knitting it, because I didn't actually use one specific pattern. I always say that the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie Maed is a very good source. It's a very detailed pattern with lots of options, and you can always use that as a basic pattern, and then do different things, different raglan increases, or different ribbing patterns, or whatever you want to do. I did talk to you as I went along. I did talk about it quite a lot, so I just want to see if there's anything yes. As always, when I knitted the body in a 4.25, so the sleeve ribbing I did in a 2.75. I went down 2 needle sizes to a 3.75. But for the bottom ribbing, I only went down one to a size to a 4 millimeter. I like it to be quite stretchy, so that it doesn't pull in. I did a 2x1 and a 2x1 here as well, and then a knit row, and I do like my Icelandic bind off. Is the difference between the Icelandic bind off doesn't show the definite V on top of the bind off, where the just the plain ordinary bind off or the Russian bind off will show the definite little V stitches on top. So that's why I do like the Icelandic bind off. It's stretchy enough, and it gives quite a nice finish. Maybe I just want to stand up so you won't see my face now. This is the bottom ribbing. I did like a broken 2x1 rib at the bottom, and what I just wanted to show you is I quite like the back side of that as well. And I did a split hem, but just in the middle of the ribbing, I decided to split and make the back a little bit longer. And I also did the knitted one row, and then did the Icelandic bind off. The color does seem to be a little, so there I went and sat right on top of the cat, because she is really a bit, hoekom is dit nou nodig om reg agter my te gaan sit? Okay, sorry for that. So I think that's everything about the raglan sweater. If there's anything else that you want to ask me about it, feel free to ask in the comments. I gladly answer any questions regarding anything that I make that's not according, because sometimes I use a pattern as a base and then I do make a lot of changes. I always make a lot of changes. That's just because I think I like to try and make it fit my body better. So I can use a pattern, a certain pattern as a base and then do lots of changes. So just ask me if there's anything that's unclear or that I didn't explain well. Okay, it's not going smoothly, but I'm just going to persevere and push through this. I almost ended this recording again, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go on. So the next one is I thought I'm not going to get the opportunity to show them to you, but they have not been sent yet. It's the socks that I've showed you in the previous episode I was busy with. It's done in the Katia Helsinki sock yarn. Unfortunately, it's discontinued because it does make quite a nice pattern. So I never cut the yarn anywhere. I started cuff down, did the ribbing, and when the color changed, I started with the leg, and then I just did when the contrast color started again, I started with the heel flap and heel turn and the gusset, and as I showed you last, I did double decreases, four sets here and I think 8 sets here beneath on the heel, on the bottom side of the heel. And then because I wanted to be on my 64 stitches again when I do the foot, and just continued with it. I didn't want to cut. There is some yarn for a contrast toe, but I just continued, and then there was a little bit of the contrast that had to go into the toe. This where I first learned about doing decreases below beneath the foot is from the basic sock with a double gusset heel by Christi Payne. I will try and remember to put the link again, or even just the name in the description box below. So I always, and there might not be always links in the description box, but I do try to give details, so you can maybe just go there to first see if I didn't mention the yarn or the pattern there. So yeah, this is finished now. As I said, I started with 68 stitches and then decreased to 64 for the foot, and there's a little bit of a jog in the pattern, but that's okay. That's not really an issue for me, and I'm sure the recipient won't even notice it. We are sometimes, I think, too critical on our own knitting. And something else I showed you last is, oh no, not the last episode, I think 2 episodes, the episode before the last one, was the scarf that I was weaving, and I finally finished that a while back. A lovely twisted fringe. It's nice and long, so there's different ways that you can wear it. You can wear it like this and just pull this through. It's nice and cozy and warm. This is actually a 4-ply double knit light worsted by Oneofakind Yarns that I had in my stash. And I didn't warp the full width of my 30 centimeter loom. I think this is about, it does shrink a little bit. I don't have my, this might be about 25 centimeters. But I think it's much more practical to wear. Lovely and soft. Glad that that's done. I really want to try and weave more. I don't get enough, don't spend enough time at my looms. Not nearly enough. And then the other thing I showed that I've finished is the YarnCreations Mandala. And I was so clever to take out the stitch marker from where I was when I showed you the last time. I managed to get up to 91 rounds with the yarns that I didn't want to break into. I could have wound up some more full skeins, but I didn't want to wind up a full 100-gram skein to continue with this up to the 100 rounds that the recipe is written for. It's my recipe and it's on Ravelry, but it's really very basic. You must know how to crochet, but it's very basic and easy stitches. But yeah, it's done. I did do quite a few changes here, and I did make a project page. Can you believe it? I did make a project page because I wanted to just write, it's more or less the last 10 to 15 rounds. I just changed things a little bit. I did, of course, misread my own recipe on this round. I didn't do as as I said on my own recipe how to do it. But it's still, I still like it. It's also in Oneofakind Yarns 4-ply merino and dyed. Yeah, it's about 98 centimeters in diameter, so it's big enough to still fit on a table. If you use maybe a rustic cotton or t-shirt yarn, it will make a perfect rug as well. So that is that done as well. I like the colors a lot. And there is some rounds where it might wobble a little bit, but it's very easy to just maybe steam it a little bit or spray it and block it a little bit before you proceed, and then see if it's not entirely flat. You can just do 1 or 2 rounds of linen stitch to just pull it in a little bit, and then continue with the rounds that is in the recipe. And then the last finished object I have is one that was started in April last year, April 2021. It's now the 10th of August 2022. And this is a night shift, also done in one. It seems to be an episode of One-of-a-Kind Yarns Finished Objects. But I do have a lot of one-of-a-kind yarns. And that's something I wanted to say. Why I did this in pure merino wool is, when I bought this yarn, I think I paid more or less the same for a 50-gram skein of merino yarn that you will now pay for 50 gram of cotton. So it was quite a few years ago, and merino yarn was much more affordable. I think it has more or less tripled in price since then, if not more. So that is the reason I've got a lot in my stash, and I don't feel sorry to use, because this is quite a heavy weight. It's, like I said, a 4-ply light. I think it's about 190 meters on 100 grams. So it's not something that I did make some blankets out of that, and I've still got some left. Yeah, so out of my stash, very, very deep stash. And this is the Nightshift by Andrea Mowry. I don't know how to show it, because the moment I pull it back, it looks very, very black, and it's not black. It's a very, very dark navy and a dark charcoal grey. And then one skein I dyed myself is like a grey charcoal teal color, and then all these lovely, very bright, variegated blips. There you can see the background color that I dyed with a teal color in, but you can't see the blips very well. It's all about there you can see it more better. So I don't know the light, it's very bright outside. But it's quite big, and I will probably advise the person that this will go to drape it around the shoulders. I'm not really a fan of, I don't know, I don't see the practicality of wearing this massive amount of fabric in front of you. I really don't see it. I'm sorry, but I'm maybe more traditional regarding that. So to me this looks much more practical, and what a shawl is supposed to do is to keep you warm on over your shoulders and your back. Maybe use a pin, and you've still got the heat or the warmth here where you want it, and just maybe use a nice pin. But yes, as I say, it's a bit blown out, but it's quite big and very soft and gorgeous, I think. So it's all yeah, except for the one skein that I dyed, because I didn't have enough for that background color. All one-of-a-kind yarns, but this is a 3-ply DK, so it's a lighter weight than what I used for my mandala. And this yarn and everything about this, this yarn was used by a friend of mine for something else, and she frocked for a sweater, and she frocked the whole sweater. And then I took the yarn and I said, I'm sure I will be able to make something pretty with it. And then I decided that I think it will make a great Nightshift. And now it will go back to her. I will see her over the weekend. I'm going to an annual knitting retreat. Looking very much forward to that. Don't have to worry about any meals. Just relax with like-minded people, a group I know well from all the previous years. And yes, looking very much forward to that. So I will then give this back to her. This was actually, I started it and then my hands got a bit tired while I was knitting it, and I gave it to her, and she knitted a little piece on it, and then she gave it back to me, and then I completed it. So yeah, lots of history regarding the yarn and the shawl and the project. Well traveled. So I think that is all the finished objects. So let's quickly go on to what I'm busy with. I just quickly want to do an update on, I think at the moment I've got 7 works in progress. That's not too bad. I think I've done quite well with finishing things, and I'm going to try and finish at least 2 things before the end of August. I really badly want to cast on something for spring on the 1st of September, but we'll see what that will be, or if it will happen. But you know, when it's spring here, there's really that urge to just start knitting something spring related. But I didn't make a lot of progress on my Fair Isle blanket, but I just want to show you. I think there is some progress since I've showed it to you last time. I did talk about it in the previous, so I think I was around about there. This is one of the stitch markers I made myself. It's a little teapot. I love that. This is the, I don't like heavy stitch markers, and I prefer a lobster claw. So that's just my personal taste. So I just make them myself. So I've done, I especially love the last one I did. And I think I'm learning a lot about color use in Fair Isle, in this blanket and in the Lovage sweater that I will show you just now. So I just wanted to show you that there was some progress on the Fair Isle blanket. Not sure how much I will be able to still do before it's too hot to work on this, because it is a rustic yarn, Norwegian wool. It's not too scratchy or anything, but and it's very light. It's not heavy at all. But I just think that it might get a little bit warm to work on this in the height of summer. But that doesn't bother me. Just want to show you my nice bolga basket. Friend of mine, a yarny friend, and imports them from Ghana. I always drooled about them and wanted one, so I'm very happy with mine. And then I haven't worked on my ripple blanket a lot, but this is also not anything that has to be done, but I did do a few repeats. I was up here when I last showed it to you. It's a nice Itsy Klein stitch marker, lovely piece of cake. So yes, I did do 7 repeats, and every repeat is 3 rows, so that my ends are alternating between the 2 sides. And this is all 2-ply super twist from Oneofakind Yarns again and Cowgirlblues. So I can now, I think I'm almost halfway, almost, but I'm in no hurry to finish this. And it's, I think it will be a throw lap blanket size. So that is my ripple. It's a neat ripple by Attic 24. That's my favorite ripple pattern. And then I quickly want to show you the progress on my Lovage. I think I did well, and that's why I didn't work on my fair old blanket, because the color work or the fair isle knitting on my Lovage was keeping me occupied. So here it is. So I felt a little bit, I won't say bad, but I was just a little bit worried when I said that I think this is a piece of art. I didn't actually mean my knitting specifically, but the fair isle patterning I think is definitely, I can't paint or draw, so I think for me to be able to produce this or to knit this is my way of my kind of art that I would like to pursue. And so I really think fair isle knitting is a kind of art. That's all that I meant. So I didn't do the last chart that's on the pattern. I replaced that with 2 others, so it's this one and this one. This one is from the Sycamore wrist warmers that I showed you, and this one is from the socks, from one of the sock patterns from Marie Wallin. Because I really wanted to try and make the most of the last of the Britishbreeds that I had left, and I think I did quite a good job. There is a little bit of Yarnadelic in between, and especially the neutral color that has I've already started incorporating that, I think. Yeah, it's Ordinary Jove, the John Arbon Yarnadelic color Ordinary Joe. So now it's onto the body. I have to knit 27 centimeters for my length that I want. And I'm on 3mm needles at the moment. The color work was knitted with a 3.25, and the body I'm knitting with a 3mm. The pattern says a 2.75. But I think I'm going to try and stick with a 3mm and maybe go up to the 3.25 later. I will have to decide, because I don't want it, because the Yarnadelic is a little bit thinner, more, it says like a sport weight, but I think it tends to go more to a fingering, like, and the Britishbreeds is also a sport weight yarn, but I think the Yarnadelic is a little bit thinner. So I don't want it to be too, I just want to try and maintain the same fabric. So this is on the 3mm. And I've decided that I went to I knit quite a lot with my tulip bamboo knitting needles. You know, that's my favorite preferred knitting needles. But then I realized that I actually think that the Chiagu steel needles is smoother with this Yarnadelic or any non-superwash yarns. I find that I think the stitches slides easier onto the needles, or over the needles. So I think maybe, and I think on my Fair Art blanket, I'm also going to use the Chiagu steel or whatever it is needles to knit. I used the Chiagu bamboo needles, but I think the steel ones will be better. Okay, so that is my Lovage. So I've still got the enough of the Britishbreeds to do the color work on the sleeves, and then I would have used most of it, and I think I've put it to good use. I'm quite happy with what I've done with my leftover. I still have to decide how I'm going to knit the sleeves, because I did show you the wrist warmers last time, and I want to try and wear the wrist warmers. So I might knit shorter sleeves, that maybe just go up to here, shorter sleeves, and maybe a little bit wider, so not with the tight ribbing, so that I can wear my wrist warmers with the Lovage, because it's in the same yarn. So I think that will make a good set. So let's see if I can make that work. And something else, I've showed you this and I haven't really made any progress, but that is one of that's the other, the Lovage, and this is the two whips that I would really like to finish in August. This is the Emmeline, just make sure. Of course, I think the pattern is not in my reach. Oh, that Emmeline cowl by Sari Nordland. I did explain to you in one of the previous episodes where I've showed you all my whips that I didn't do all the whole color work chart, and I'm not going to continue with the color work that's going to be on the inside. I'm just doing a plain stockinette with a little bit of, just to keep the interest. Of course, this will be folded into the inside and then grafted to the cast, to this provisional cast on at the bottom. And I just think maybe it will be more wearable, because otherwise it might make quite a thick fabric because of a double layer of color work. It's a lovely design. So yes, this and the Lovage is my two whips that I would really like to still try and finish for whip August. And this is done in, I'm knitting this in singles from Misslamotteyarns, and wishbone. Okay, so I think one other thing I can quickly show you is something I haven't shown you. Last time the episode got too long. I've still got, I tried to keep it under an hour. It seems that I will never be able to do a shorter episode because I just have too much to show and too little episodes, not enough episodes, not recording enough episodes. So this is the Scrappercardi by Safiyyah Talley, Thedrunkknitter. And I still had a advent calendar from Misslamotteyarns from 2019 that I got through Be Inspired, and I really wanted to use that. I actually wanted to do a Christmas in July project, but I just realized that this is quite big minis. It's 25 grams 2-ply super twist, and it's even not one of them is only 25 grams. They are all 27, 28 grams. So that's actually more knitting than I realized. So I'm holding a double with Kid Silk Mowry. I've split for the sleeves. So these very nice patterning is happening in the yoke, but the body is just plain garter. Lots and lots of knitting still on this cardigan. Yes, I didn't want to, I'm trying to use the minis from the lightest color to the darkest color. So, but I didn't want to do the neck collar in this very light cream, with holding the very light cream kid silk. So I used the grey just because it's might touch my face, and then I might wear makeup, and I don't want it to be too obvious if maybe you know, a little bit of makeup does transfer to that it's not when it's in this lightest color. So I thought maybe it's a little bit more practical to start with the grey and then go to the light. So I'm going darker and darker. There was a little bit of a pink in there because I think what I have to do is I will have to continue with the pink colors in the sleeves, and then the body will be in the yellowy, greeny, turquoise and blues. And let's just hope that will work out. So this is the all my mohair that I'm going to use in the body. This at the moment I'm using this two together, and then I would like to use this lovely green. It's from Colors of Amalfi, all the Kid Silk Mohair. So yes, and then go on to maybe the darker teal, and there will be a little bit there's a green, and then there's some of the Mowry that's got a little bit of a pink spots in, that will also then maybe bring the pink of the sleeves closer to the blue body. Let's hope that I'm not entirely messing this up, because I'm not going to frock garter stitch cardigan in with Mowry. So at the moment I've used all the needles I have. I've used my tulips, bamboo, and then I used my Knit Pro Symphony. Then I went to my Chiagu metal needles, and at the very end I changed to my Chiagu bamboo needles. And it seems that the Chiagu bamboo's got quite a sharp tip, and because this is a slower knit because of the 2-ply super twist and the very fine strand of kid silk Mowry, so it's a slower knit. Otherwise you don't knit both strands, and then you have to go back to, or think back to get that strand of Mowry that was left behind. So I find that this bamboo but little bit sharper tips works almost the best for this specific knitting, and it's also a very smooth bamboo, so it glides, the knitting glides over the needles quite easily. I'm not entirely sure if I will be able to finish this, because I don't think this is something that I will like to knit on when it's in the middle of summer, but I'm also not very worried about that. I will see how far I can get, and then leave the rest for autumn next year. One of my own stitch markers, love this one. And yes, the pinks, sorry that they're all in bags, but it's just because the Mowry just get just do tend to get quite fluffy when they are all mixed together all the time. So this is my pink colored Mowry. Colors of Amalfi and Misslamotteyarns. This is all Misslamotteyarns. And I've got a toolbox, and I rolled up all the minis and put them in the correct order. So this is where I have to start. So this is the body, all those, you can't hear me I suppose. How can I show you this? So the body is in this blues, going down and up again, and then the sleeves will be in the pink, from here going to darker up to there. And then I've got this extra skein I've gotten, I use this for the stripy raglan I made for my daughter-in-law, and I've still got a full skein, and this has got blues and pink. So I think I might add this for the button band. There's no buttons, but obviously you have to knit a border here, and then maybe I will see how far I get with the minis, and then add this if necessary. And that might also bind the sleeves and the body together. So this is my toolbox with my minis. And think that is about it. Already on 50 minutes. I can quickly show you my one other, because all that I'm going to take with the weekend is my Lovage and the Emerald Cowl, because I really want to finish that try and finish it in August. But something else that I did start a while back, but I was good, I didn't I put it aside, is the log cabin linen stitch log cabin squares. It's a free pattern by Little Woolly. I've done a few, all in speckled double knit, just a few to see if it will work with the yarns I had. It's all from my stash. This one was in my Tecumseh, if you remember correctly. If I remember, if you just ignore that. So it's a lot of them are from Knottyhabit. There's one or two from Oneofakind Yarns, very deep stash. I think these two are from Oneofakind Yarns, and it's a 3-ply DK. I only bought one extra full skein from Knottyhabit, and then I've got two, not entirely sure where they are, two skeins that I shared with a friend. So I've got 50 grams of each of them, but most of these are out of my stash, not from Knottyhabit. So I think I'm going to treat myself and work on this over the weekend as well. First, I've got a few ends that I want to weave in. Now that I'm sure it's working, I will just first tend to that ends. And yeah, just this one square is got, because I just want to see if that will work. I've got some of this blue from Knottyhabit, and I think what I'm going to do in the pattern by Little Woolly, I think she sewed them together. I didn't even look, I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to just add one row of also linen stitch in this blue, and then attach the squares or join the squares at the same time. So I just want to see how it will look, and I think it will look okay if I use that blue around the squares. So that is that other project. There's one other thing that I started. I wanted to try it for a long time now, is some socks to sleep in. So this is also Oneofakind Yarns. I'm really doing well with using my Oneofakind Yarns very deep stash. So this is also in the 4-ply light worsted. I quite like this coloring. So just some bed socks. I don't like let's just say I prefer ordinary socks to sleep in. So this is a different heel. Let me just see if I can put it on a sock blocker quickly. See if this will work. Show you quickly. It's called the, I'm really disorganized today. It's called the Diamond Heel by Laura Salisbury. I don't have a picture of the sock or the whole sock, but maybe you can see. So you do increases, so it's continuous while you're knitting in the round. You do the increases, and then you do like what you will do for a heel flap and gusset, a heel turn over that the middle amount of stitches, and then you do some extra decreases here, and then you on your back to your stitch count again. So it's a bit different. I wanted to try it. Seems to be working. Really struggling with the coloring, the lightning today. The needles I'm using is Addy lace needles, and it's a 3.25. I really like these needles. I bought them from Scalpi. They're very smooth here, and I do like the cord. It's not too stiff. It works well. I like knitting these socks with these needles, 3.25. So I went to the Rye Socks by Tin Can Knits. I think that's quite a good source for a worsted sock. I think there's also a Rye Light for sock weight yarn, but this is the recipe for worsted weight yarn, and it gives from children sizes for children up to adults. So I'm doing the I don't know if there's, yeah, the adult medium. I started with the adult medium because I wasn't sure how many stitches to cast on, and I started with it's a free pattern, so go and have a look at that. I started with a 44 stitches, 44 stitch count, and a 1x1 ribbing. And of course, again, I turned after the 10 rows of ribbing, I turned my knitting inside out and then proceed with the leg. Because as I said in my previous episode, my 1x1 ribbing is much neater on the inside. So I made the inside my outside, or the wrong side my right side. And I did 20 rows of leg, and then I started with the heel construction. That is now really it. So this actually doesn't count. Does this count as a whip? Because this is actually I wanted to make this my on-the-go knitting, not something that's urgent to finish, because winter is almost over anyway. Yeah, I suppose it does count as a whip. Then maybe I'm now on to 8 whips again. Because I casted this on as a on-the-go, and I'm already on the foot because I wanted to see if the heel will work. I don't want to struggle with a heel that doesn't work for me when I'm sitting and do some social knitting. Yes, so I have to actually add the socks, but the socks doesn't really count as a whip because it's an on-the-go project. And then the other whip that I'm not going to show you because there's no progress on that is that scrappy shawl that I showed also in the episode where I showed all my whips. So that is everything. A very busy episode once again, but I hope that you stayed up to now. I know it's long, but that's just, I suppose it will be again about a month before I can get around to making another episode. Yeah, that's just life, I suppose. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy your crafting time, and I hope it really makes you happy. Goodbye.